Hello, and welcome to another episode of my Cell to Singularity games. I can't really call it an episode or campaign or anything. This game has no endpoint, no end purpose, and yet some of you watch this. I guess if you enjoy it. It reminds me of, for some reason, my Potion Craft Let's Play series is currently my most popular one. I would consider that the most boring of all the games that I stream, but not you guys, and you like it, so I mean, I bend to the will of the audience. Um, it's not a bad game. I'm just surprised it's not as popular as Hearts of Iron or Vorion. Actually, that's my second most popular, or not as popular. Sorry, more popular than Hearts of Iron or Vorion or Age of Wonders 3 multiplayer game videos, or Wildermyth. Those are all, I would think, more interesting games. But Potion Craft's my number one, and Vorion's my number two, and Hearts Iron is my number three, as far as I can tell. So, go figure. I guess I play some games more interestingly than others. My Wildermyth is probably, I would say, my least popular Let's Play series, and it's the one I would consider the most interesting game of them all. So, anyhow, enough about that. For those of you watching, I'm a little bit of a positive mood because I spent some time with brother's mother-in-law, that would be the correct phrase, and just getting out of the house. I struggle from long COVID. I disabled. I'm not able to work because of it. This is my best attempt to earn some money, this YouTubing. If I can get to the point of ad money, I need 500 subscribers, and I'm 1/30th of the way there. But my channel is growing and growing and growing in watch hours and views, and so I'll get there someday, I'm sure. And upbeat and optimistic, and doesn't mean I'm not gonna talk about how I think there are problems with our system or country we need to fix, because there are. And this is the game I go into random tangents, because what the hell are you looking at? I will say this is the music exploration event. Starts with notes, sound waves, musical theory, innovations. It's just a clicker. You proceed through nodes. Some are worth more than others. If you want to play efficiently, you figure out what's the most cost effective, which I usually do, because if I'm not play it, I'd like to do sort of well at it. I just turn things to scientific notation because it's easier to read, and because I was trained as and worked as a scientist before I got long COVID. In fact, I'm dealing with issues right now of some of the work I did for an hourly wage as a scientist for the university as an academic hourly not being accounted for by the Social Security Administration, and trying to screw me out of disability because they don't have my TAing, my academic hourly work, 4 of the 5 of the first jobs I did in the first year after finishing grad school. Yeah, there were a few, because I started a temp job grading tests and worked at a pharmacy. The temp job ended, so then I picked up another temp job. That one didn't work out, so I picked another. That one didn't work out. Actually, before I started these 2 jobs, there was another temporary job that I picked up and, it was inherently short term. So, like, the test grading, both of the first 2 temp jobs worked great. It just, they were inherently only going to be available for a limited while. SSA is missing that, so. But yeah, so I turn things to scientific notation because it's easy for me to understand. And now look, what's the ratio? There's a gap of 3 orders of magnitude here, 4 orders of magnitude here, 5 orders of magnitude here, because anything in the hundreds of thousands magnitude range is to the 5th, just like thousands to be the 3rd and tens of thousands to the 4th. And I ideally want to grab the generators that have the smallest gap, so 3 order of magnitude gap. Early innovations. That's currently the most cost effective for me, unless I'm about to grab a node like this that would make one better. And actually, this makes early innovations better, so it's definitely the way to go. Yeah, that's efficient play for this game. It's very simple. It's not like, oh boy, at some point I'm going to do an interstellar transport company let's play. It's like Transport Tycoon. I'd almost call it Bloody Abandonware, except it's not because, it's for sale on Steam, but the guy who made it, he never quite finished it. He may call it a finished product, but there are obviously things that still need to be done. But it was an enjoyable logistics tycoon game. Can't really call it. It's not like a train simulator because it's in space, but it's an enjoyable logistics tycoon game despite its somewhat unfinished final state. But complex, and I'm pretty sure I don't know the efficient way to play it even now after all the hours I put in it. So if you see me playing that, I'll be wondering what the efficient route is. It's complicated. Here, this is bloody simple. You see me, I'm going back and forth the main simulation, because if each time I reset that, I get the nanobot boost. Didn't mean to click at that. Turned it to buying stuff. Resets, get a minute of that. I hope that that was intended. Utilizing it regardless, because I'm not presuming it's allowed. I don't really freaking care. I'm not. It's not like I hurt anyone by playing this game, and the way that the way I want, which is just to progress and see stuff. Maybe the bloody author wants people to spend money, but I am never spending money in this game. I am broke, and I'm not buying his exploitatively priced Darwinium. It's insanely expensive for not even that very big a boost in the game, and this is a very minimal effort game. I'm sorry, but to make something like this shouldn't take that many programming hours. It's not like, well, almost any other type of game out there. There's no AI he has to program, which is often scripting AI is supposed to be one of the hardest things. The user interface is minimal. It's really just a calculator, a glorified calculator in many ways. And very minimal research into designing these things. This guy literally just pulled Wikipedia articles, as far as I can tell. I'm sorry, but that does not, and the game isn't even that enjoyable. It does not deserve to be rewarded with buying stuff, especially when I'm so broke that I'm worried about my ability to physically survive at some point in the future of my savings right now, because the government is trying to cheat me out of disability based on not having work history in the records, not allowing it to be corrected more than 3 years and 3 months later. Like, what the hell is that? It's not my fault you have the wrong records. I should be allowed to correct it as long as I want after, because I didn't screw up. They did. They are the ones who didn't record my work history and aren't giving me work credits for it. So, if I have the earnings statements, the bank statements of the direct deposits, if I really need to, could get a letter from the employer saying I worked for them once. That's proof. I don't know if they mishandled the W-2 or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not I don't run the business office at the places I worked. I never did. So, but yeah, money's desperately short, and this money hasn't started earning money. Maybe I'll never get to 500 subscribers, so I'm not. And already the laptop I'm using, if any of you watched the Age of Wonders 3 Let's Play, you may have seen me running into this. Already one of the USB ports is starting to break on it. I've had it less than a month. The warranty, though, started taking down like 6-7 months before I bought the bloody thing, because I guess that's when Amazon went to Amazon warehouse, rolled off the factory floor. Like, it's ridiculous. The warranty shouldn't start till you actually get the thing. It's not like refurbished. It's brand new. So even this investment in a gaming laptop so that I could stream better is turning out to be not very cost effective if the thing's already breaking down. And maybe it'll never pay off because subscribe if you like this. Maybe not this. This is garbage game. This is just, you want something to hear someone talk mindlessly playing game? Here you go. Thoughts? Because I'm sure you're bored. Viewers, Trump's about to be inaugurated. I'm afraid for the country's future. I wanted to get out of the country before that happened. Tried to convince my mother that she should sell our house months ago and move to Europe, because if things go badly, housing prices are going to tank because a lot of people are going to be selling their houses and trying to leave. If she does it way ahead of time, then she can be settled before there's a wave of refugees or migrants or whatever if things get really bad. The time to deal with something like this is always, in terms of getting out of harm's way, is always way ahead of time. It's not when things go bad. And it might not. In fact, as a betting man, I would put the odds of like fascism coming to America at like 1 in 10. But that's a concerningly high odds, even if it's only 5% or 2%. These are not odds to bet one's life on. And given that I am a leftist and disabled, very good chance they would try and murder me if things got really Nazi-like. Not all fascists are Nazis, but and they all target different groups. It's not Jews that would be coming for in America. It's the disabled, which was actually the first group the Nazis murdered way before they started going after even the Jews. They started with disabled. There's a famous first they came for, and it starts with the communists, but actually it was first they came for the disabled, then the communists, then the socialists, the trade unionists, then the Jews, in that order. It's not proportional how many people were killed, but although proportionally to population, I'm pretty sure a higher percentage of disabled people were murdered than Jews, even in Germany, which is saying something. They went to hospitals and they just euthanized tens of thousands of people who like were unable to walk, unable to think because they had head injuries, that kind of thing. Also people who would be considered, the politically incorrect term for this is retarded, the politically correct term for this is mentally disabled or something like that. They murdered those people, just threw them into furnaces in the end. And they did that before they even went on to the Jews. So as a disabled person, my life is probably in danger if things go really bad in this country. And I think the U.S. right-wing spirit is more about people on welfare programs, and disabled people are almost all on welfare programs, and less about, religious minorities, who I don't think are going to be in as great a danger if things go really bad. Not to say there won't be discrimination against, particularly Muslims will be the religious minority they do target. Not Jews. Muslims are the people they'll try and kill. I am not Muslim, but I'm just indicating who I think is in the greatest danger. As I said, small probabilities, but not non-existent. And of course, anyone look at this and later, if nothing happens, will say, oh, I was an idiot, I was wrong. No, I wasn't wrong. I was correct in that there was a small probability, and that probably just didn't play out. I am predicting that chances are, 9 to 1, 19 to 1, that it will not happen. So most likely it's not, but there is a real risk. And anyone who thinks there isn't is deluding themselves that things can go very bad. What would push things over the edge? Probably if someone tried to assassinate Trump again and injured him, or if they did assassinate some high-ranking politician, or maybe if another war broke out that the U.S. actually got drawn fully into, as opposed to what's going on in Gaza, where it's bombs, like U.S. troops on the ground. Something like that. It would take some special event to really push things over the edge, but those things can happen. Trump nearly did get murdered already by an assassin, so there's always a risk that some crazy is going to do that and try and do that. And, like maybe he gets assassinated and J.D. Vance turns America into a fascist dystopia. That could happen. Uh, J.D. Vance is his vice president. For those who have no clue who the guy even is, because he hasn't kept as high of a profile, but anyone who knows his history knows he's like Dick Cheney, but even more evil. uh, yeah. Um, he's a smart and good-looking fascist, that Vance fellow. Um, I yeah, I will freely comment that he is a good-looking man, and that will play into the media going softer on him and not, whereas Trump is obviously fat and not the most attractive-looking. It's easy to poke fun at him, and people do. But this J.D. Vance guy is infinitely more dangerous than Trump in some ways. Anyhow, I hope I'm saying the name right, not accidentally mix. The going to be vice president of the United States. If I'm saying the wrong name by accident, my brain's pulling far. I apologize. You know who this guy is, hopefully. I know. I've always sometimes my brain will insert the wrong names from things, but I know what they are. Whether I mix the name up or not, or who this guy is. I don't know. America hasn't been truly free for a long time. We only have 2 political parties. Only 2. Some countries have, 7, 10, 14 parties. When you only have 2, it's very easy for a handful of very rich people to just take total control of the system. Not that they can if there's a bunch, but it's harder. And the best you can do in structuring a system is make it very hard for bad things to happen. You can never completely prevent anything like corruption, lobbying. You can make lobbying illegal. Some of it will still occur secretly. You can nationalize corporations so there are no billionaires in your country that are corrupt politicians, but there will still be foreign billionaires unless you turn the entire world socialist. You can do a lot of things, but you can never completely eliminate problems. You can only make them better or less likely. So, yeah. But the American system has not even tried to minimize these problems appropriately, not take any real action on money in politics or any of that for a very long time. First past the post voting is a problem that amplifies the effect of money, because instead of having to convince Americans in every state, for instance, to vote for Trump, if a billionaire wants to sway the outcome of election, or to vote for a congressman, because that's really where the money is. A lot of times, Congress and Senate, presidential races or actually have volunteers to help in the campaigns, and it's actually a little more ideological rather than purely money. But there's still a lot of money in the presidential races, a ton. But yeah, if every single state matters, because there's people in every single state, and because it's not like you can just dump money into California, which some people say to try and argue against changing the system to not have the electoral college anymore. That doesn't work. You reach saturation very quickly where more ads aren't going to get you that many more votes. No, you have to spread your efforts across more ads or rallies or whatever. You have to spread your effort across every state if it's a popular vote system, for instance. And that's more expensive to run ads in every single state than just to run ads in Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, for instance. So it amplifies the effect of those with tons of money who will dominate financial contributions regardless of whether it's only a few states or a ton. Small donations help, but they don't make a very noticeable impact in politics unless it's like the rare guy like Bernie Sanders who gets tons of small donations. Most of the time, it's only the big donors that matter. But it's not just the first past the post voting system, it's the fact that leads to only 2 parties, and it's even cheaper than controlling affects outcomes in general elections, even if it's only a couple swing states, controlling them in the primaries, where it's usually only a couple swing primary states. It's not even, you know, all the swing voters in Wisconsin you have to convince then. It's all the, let's say you're trying to get Biden to win the primary instead of Bernie Sanders. It's only all the swing voters who are Democrats in Georgia. Swing not in terms of whether they're going to vote Democrat or Republican, but for what swing between the left and the right wing factions of the Democratic Party. It is a much smaller subset of people, especially since primary participation is much lower. Like, if you add up all the Democrats and Republicans who vote in primaries, it's far less than the people who vote in the general election. And then it's always a subset of the people for each party that you have to. It becomes a very select group of people who will decide the outcome of an entire country. When it's only two parties like this, it is incredibly cheap for corporations to just completely decide the outcome of party politics, and over time capture the party leadership, which is what they've done. I mean, like, Nancy Pelosi is ridiculously corrupt. Not in an illegal corruption way, like sometimes lying right-wingers have claimed, but in a legalized corruption way, which is still just as freaking bad. Just because the bribes are legal doesn't mean that, just because it's called political campaign donations, doesn't mean it doesn't really subvert the principle of democracy. I mean, Pelosi's on the way out, or out already, but her influence is waning even as an the point is that there's even fewer people to buy, and you can just buy party leadership with just two parties. If you have like 7 or 10 or 14 parties, it's not just that there are more party leaderships to buy and more primaries to influence and more people whose votes matter. It's also a matter of the parties are more ideologically committed usually because they're not as broad tent. So there's going to be more volunteers and stuff like that that are counterbalancing the money. And if a party becomes too corrupted, people can just form a new party that stands for largely the same things. Like, if America didn't have a two-party system, I guarantee you that a lot of people would have split off the Democratic Party decades ago and formed the new Democratic Party, which stood for basically the same things, but without the lobbyist control. There would have been a new Republican Party, too, probably. But the Democratic Party has been around pretty much since the country was founded, and it is deeply, deeply outdated in many ways, and so it's even more likely it would have been replaced than the Republicans. You probably would have, of course, seen splits, too. You would have seen the left wing, like the Bernie Sanders wing, split off to form a new party. The point so that they weren't being purged from the Democratic Party ranks like they historically were. Eventually, after the 2016 primary? Was it 2012 or something? After they purged Bernie people. My memory is getting a little hazy at this point, but they purged them from the Democratic Party. Removed them from the party. Purge doesn't mean to murder, although people think Great Purge Soviet Union. It means to remove from the ranks of a party, which in the Soviet Union would sometimes lead to, when you're removed from the Communist Party, then being sent to the gulags or something, but technically all the people were purged. We just moved from the party ranks. Some of them were killed, but not all of them. 700,000 people died in the Soviet Great Purge, but far more people were purged, air quote. Sometimes it was as simple as they were removed from political offices and not allowed to run for political offices, but that was all that happened to some people. Still, 700,000 people dying is atrocious, and when you combine that with people who didn't die but went to prison, who, had their lives ruined in other ways, it was a big deal. But yeah, the Democrats purged Bernie people in the past, and that would have never happened if the Bernie people could just split off and form their own party, and they probably would have never been part of the Democrats to begin with. But two-party system, easier control, easier for a handful of rich people to subvert, easier for one demagogue like Trump to take over the Republican Party. It's a deeply flawed system, but America is not flexible, has not changed its political system substantially in terms of its actual structure very much at all. in a very long time. Most of the recent constitutional amendments have been just tweaking around the edges or things that were incredibly obvious, not that controversial to fix. Anyways, enough about that. Uh, I don't know why anyone would be watching this. Maybe I'm talking to an empty electronic room, so to speak, at this point, but this is a terrible game. Some of you like punishment. I do recommend, though, checking out my Hearts Iron or Wildermyth or Avorion or Potioncraft or Citizen Sleeper Let's Plays. They're all good. I like them all. I mean, I play the games past the point where I'm having fun sometimes just because I need to produce volume. But I do like them, at least when I'm well rested enough and I haven't done like 6 videos in a row of the same thing. Sometimes I do 6 videos in a row because I really like the game, but sometimes I just need to produce volume. But they're all good games, is what I was trying to say, and I hope you folks will tune in for some of those Let's Plays, because I really enjoy doing those a lot more, and or at least hate it less when I'm hating and I'm just pushing, because some days I'm on my 3rd cup of coffee and I'm struggling just to get enough energy to do one video because of my long COVID. It sucks. I can barely trudge from my bedroom to the kitchen to the bathroom to the computer room, and that's like all I do that day. But this disease is horrible, and most people would have given up, but I just wait and pray and hope for a cure, and someday there will be one. I just hope I'm not an old man when it happens. If you care to make a difference, besides subscribing to this channel so I can maybe survive, write your congressman or your senator. Tell them they should fund long COVID research more, because we don't put nearly enough money into it. And 4.5 million Americans are disabled or severely impaired to the point it affects their work. Even if they're working reduced hours, reduced responsibilities with long COVID. And it's getting worse. It's not like this number is static and those people slowly die off. No, the number goes up each year because people are still getting infected with COVID. And even vaccinated people can get long COVID. Let me repeat that. Even vaccinated people can get long COVID. You roll the dice every time. The odds are about half as high when you're vaccinated as when you're unvaccinated, but long COVID can happen even with the relatively weak infections of COVID that you get when you're vaccinated, because the vaccines are effective. Doesn't mean the virus miraculously doesn't. That's not how vaccines work. They allow your immune system to rapidly respond to the pathogen and wipe it out before it multiplies too much. But even that limited replication is apparently enough to cause long COVID in some people some of the time, to the point that the number has gone up year after year. It's not going down, and it will not go down until we cure it. So, anyways, I wish you all the best. That's enough of this. Take care of each other. Please be kind to yourselves. And may you always find a guiding star to lead you home. Till next time, this is Northstar. Adieu and good luck.